Okay, good evening. Welcome to the August 8th Palmer Town Council meeting. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item on the agenda is visitors' comments for items not on the agenda. Does anyone wish to speak? Come up to the microphone. Name and address, please.
Bruce Brennan, 26 Shear Street, Palmer, Mass.
Didn't catch that.
Ren. Go ahead.
There's a retaining wall on the sidewalk, falling down. I think I spoke to the highway department, town manager, assessor's office, tax office, the insurance company. Nobody, we don't know who owns it. That's from what I'm understanding. I got people walking by saying, hey, if you don't start picking this crap up, I'm going to sue you if I trip and fall. I'm like, it's not my wall. Somebody hit it on July 16th, knocked some more down. They missed the driveway by 3 feet. And I started this, I don't know, Joyce Wiki was highway department manager. And he was just about to retire, and I known him all my life. And he goes, listen, I'm leaving in a month. Then the COVID and everything, and now it's just more and more.
So what street is it on?
Shearer, right behind Rockies.
Are you aware of that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're working on it. Determine if it is ours, and if not, yeah. So it's something that we're working on.
Okay. Did you say you had a second thing too?
Hmm?
Did you have a second thing too?
No, I just want to know who owns it, who's going to fix it. I even told him he can take it down and grade the ground, the dirt to the ground, instead of rebuilding it. Because I know it was built in the 50s when the town took the road from the guy that used to live next door to me before he died. And his son told me the same thing. And then in the 80s, they replaced the wall because it started bowing out. And that's
Who's they, though?
town.
Okay, good to know.
But nobody can tell me where to go get a record on this. This is what I've been trying to find.
Okay.
I've been looking things up. That's why I went to the assessor's office, and been 3.5 weeks. I haven't heard back from them. I know things take time, but
Okay. We'll see what we can find out for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Mr. Butch.
I'm Steve Kazimierz, and I live in Thorndike. And I'm here to complain that as a resident of Thorndike, I don't think the town of Thorndike is getting their fair share of the tax value that they're paying. Nothing seems to be done in Thorndike. For one thing, the bridge, going on 4 years, and nothing is done. I mean, we're promised next year, and I find that very doubtful that we will have a bridge by next year. Can anybody shed some light on that?
Sure. We are going out to bid soon. We just submitted the designed plans to Mass DOT.
Mm-hmm.
We are in parallel, concurrently, finishing the permitting because we have to work in a river. So we have to. That's some lengthy permitting process to get approvals to work in the river. So all of that is going according to schedule. We are meeting all of our timelines to go out to bid this year and then get the truss bridge and install the truss bridge next year.
Now, why is this taking so long? Why is this permitting all this just starting now when the bridge has been out for almost 4 years? Is it money? What,
Money, government.
money, government?
Yeah.
Still. We have stabilization money. It's for an emergency.
there's nowhere near enough stabilization money to
can
have
start it.
replaced it.
The initial cost of the bridge, when we first started talking about it, was close to $10 million. I believe it was like $8 to $10 million for a full replacement of that bridge. And it was something that the town, we could not afford to do it. Nobody wants to hear, I mean, I understand everyone thinks that, there's tax dollars are wasted, but that's really not the case. And, we would all be happy to share like where all the money of the budget goes. However, we were not able to figure out a way to replace the whole bridge. We tried on 2 different occasions to get federal money. We were not successful twice, but people always tell us, try getting a grant to pay for something. So that's what we did. Unfortunately, those grants come around once a year. So we had been told that, our first grant application was, a good application, and that if we applied again the following year, that we had a good chance to get awarded the grant. And so we waited for the second go-round, when the second year came around, and unfortunately, we were not awarded the grant again. And then at that point in time, then that's when the council discussed that we had to find an alternative to doing a full replacement of that bridge. And so that's when we started talking about the truss option for a bridge. And then we appropriated the money for that. There was a grant that we got. I don't remember the amount.
$280,000.
$280,000 grant that we got that helped us with the planning, some of the planning portion of the grant.
All of it.
Okay.
All of the planning was paid for through that grant.
Okay. And so now we're basically waiting because there's a lot of permitting, as Ryan said, that has to be done at the state level. I think actually it's moving along pretty quickly as far as, but we lost a little over 2 years by applying for that grant, trying to get it a second time. So we all understand that, it's been closed for a long time. We all want it opened. And, we're on the path now where we're going to have that truss bridge option. And then we have to deal with the bridge on the other end of Thorndike. So,
Correct.
so we know that. Unfortunately, nothing is inexpensive. And now, especially with COVID, as you know, prices of everything are more expensive. And, we do have money set aside for things, but we don't have $10 million set aside. I mean, it's just not realistic, unfortunately. So, like I said, I understand that it's been a long process. We tried to get money from the government so that it wasn't a burden on the taxpayer. We do have the constraints of Proposition 2.5, which only allow us to raise the budget so much. We also, did we use ARPA for this?
God.
No.
No, okay. So one of the things that we have been able to do in the past year and a half is the town got a substantial amount of money from the federal government, ARPA funds, American Recovery Act funds. And so we've been able to put those funds into a lot of different capital items so that we can start taking care of some things. So, like I
It's
said.
not for the bridge. It's for
Well-
either,
No, I
Other
said,
projects.
no, we appropriated the money for the bridge, and that bridge is gonna be paid for. It's a truss bridge. It's not a full replacement of the bridge. It's a truss bridge option.
so that's a temporary?
It has a life expectancy of,
50 years.
30 years, but the old metal arch type bridges, you see them all over.
Yeah,
They last forever if you keep painting them and take care of them like anything else. And from my knowledge, the cute thing of all of this that kind of irks me, and you'll love, is that we're going to replace that bridge, correct? Mm-hmm. And then the state is going to come and we're going to rip it out, and the state is going to come and rebuild that bridge instead of just leaving that bridge where it is and taking care of the other bridge. So thanks to our state, they're going to waste money on ripping something out that we do to put a nice new bridge to, now we can move that bridge to the other bridge. Instead of just
No,
the
so-
state
so-
taking
so
the
the-
money and rebuilding the other bridge after we do this one. But even though it's our bridge, that, you got to go by dad, he says, we're going to give you this money to take care of it, but So to me, which I wanted to talk to you about this, they're wasting taxpayers' dollars. But look, we're paying to have that bridge done. We're taking care of it. But then the state's like, okay, we're gonna rip it out, put a normal bridge there, and then you guys can take that one and put it where the other bridge has been failing for, what, 15, 20 years? I don't know. I've lived in town my whole life,
Long
you know?
time. This should have been done 20 years ago.
But, you know, there
Period, and
technically
then-
are bridges, but we have to go what Papa up in Boston tells us what to do, and you have to jump through his hoops, and we have to pay to take care of them the way they tell us to do it.
Okay, so this truss bridge is gonna be, it's good for 30 years, but it's not gonna be there for 30 years.
No, because the state's gonna
Well,
take and pay to
but-
have it out and put a new one
Well,
in, correct?
The last I knew, we do not have a grant agreement at this point in time with the state to replace that bridge. We don't have any timeline on that, on the state doing that project.
I have a tentative. I have what they've estimated the timeline, but no, we have no signed agreements with them. So that's a very good point. So, regardless, if the town had enough money to fix the Church Street Bridge comprehensively back to what the Church Street Bridge originally was, let's say we had that money yesterday and we started the project today, it would still take 5 years. That's how long a bridge project takes. I can't make it happen in 1 year. I can't make it happen in 2 years. The timeline is the timeline. And that's the timeline for the state as well. In their letter to us, where they say that they will come and fix this bridge, it also lists a roughly 5 to 6 year timeline.
Starting from now.
No, yeah,
After we fix it.
right.
After we fix it, they'll come and replace it in another 5 years.
Correct. And Phil is correct. I mean, on the first blush, to the average citizen, that sounds irresponsible
It is.
and dumb. But, and I'm not defending the state, I'm just through experience, they have 4,000 plus bridges that are deficient just on the state's ledger that they're responsible for. That's just 4,000 deficient ones. They have many thousands of others that just need some repairs. Then they have all of the, what are called the transportation improvement plans. These are done by regional planning commissions. So Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, Montechusett Regional Planning Commission, the Metropolitan Planning Commission in Boston. And those transportation improvement plans are 10-year plans. And that's how the state, in all of its bureaucracy, allocates money and tries to prioritize the most important projects at any given time. So they can't just rejigger all that stuff because it throws every piece of the puzzle up in the air, and then your 1,000-piece puzzle is, indecipherable on the floor again. So that's why they make a plan and they kind of stick to that plan. It doesn't sort of make sense to everybody on first blush, but we will end up with a fully repaired Church Street Bridge, and we will have the ability to fix the Main Street Bridge in short order. So this is actually a better plan for the town of Palmer.
But the Main Street Bridge is probably one step away from getting closed too.
No, it's not. MassDOT they come out and they survey that bridge regularly. We just did repairs to that bridge earlier in the year.
I realize that.
And,
Since every year you're doing a patch job, it's probably costing you $10,000 to have Northern come in and patch that.
Yes, but
Yes.
we have to do that to
Yes.
keep it open until we can do the replacement.
So the town is just pouring money into it. It's every year. That bridge is just as terrible as the Church Street was.
Right, and that's why we have the plan to replace it with the truss bridge.
I'm just concerned that someday people in Thorndike will have to go to Bonzville to get to Thorndike.
Well, I just explained to you how they won't.
Well, if Main Street Bridge shuts down before Church Street is finished, that's what's going to happen. But
Well, we can only hope and pray that that's not gonna, and, I mean, I totally get what Ryan's saying and stuff, and all I can tell you is call your state and thank them, because as far as I'm concerned, I would leave the bridge we put there, and than the state. Whether, I know you're saying they have to juggle this and that and the other thing, but we leave that bridge there, all they're juggling is saying, we're not gonna rip that one out and put one there. We're gonna rip the other one out and spend the money there. So that truss bridge stays there, they rip the other one out, and they pay to have that one done, which is shorter span, less money, bada boom. But when it's, quite frankly, and I ain't trying to be rude, I'm honest, when it's not your money that's being spent, it's real easy not to care. That's the bottom line, is my feelings, and that's fact. Because there is nobody in this room that would put a bridge somewhere, have it torn out, to have another bridge put in, to use it somewhere else, when you could put that bridge in, tear the other one out, and have it. You're doing 3 bridges for the price of 2.
Agreed. Agreed.
But
Okay.
I'm just one
I
person.
think, Phil, no, I think that that's a conversation that we need to have with the state before we get to that
You know,
point.
and it's just more money into their coffers. They can have more spending money to do whatever they pet projects. You know, they just like now, right? They just passed this big bill at Washington. The country's already broke, but we're going to spend millions and billions. There's another. We won't get into that, but
Anything else, sir?
Yep.
Okay.
Thorndike Grammar School. Seems that Converse Street School gets all the attention. Thorndike Grammar School, it's a vacant town school, town property. It's not being maintained. Nothing seems to be going on with it. You got a tree growing out of the chimney. The yard is a mess. I keep coming down every 2 months, see if we can get the grass, and I shouldn't even say grass, junk, trees, poison sumac, whatever, to get trimmed. There's a perfect example of Thorndike not getting their fair share. Can't keep the place clean. Why Thorndike? Thorndike is a vacant school, should be maintained just like Converse Street School. And it certainly isn't. You two from Thorndike should be right on top of that. I mean, you go by there plenty.
yeah, I do.
If it's not an eyesore, I'm sorry, I don't know
Tree's
what
been
is.
growing out of there. I'm 60, since I was 40.
Wow.
Probably. You know.
Well, come
But
on.
back then, it was it has gone from it
We
was
didn't
the
own it.
towns, and then it was a personal owner a couple, 3 different times, correct?
We just
I forget.
foreclosed on it. what,
I know
2
you know who she is. She had the dance studio thing.
Carol
there.
Bedoin,
Yeah, and then
that went belly
whatever
up.
happened there, it reverted back to the town.
Correct.
And I thought you had said there was something maybe going on with people interested in that or something.
There is. So thank you. Yeah, I just put out a request for proposals about. Oh, geez, it's probably been about a good 6 months now, so I need to re-advertise that. But somebody did answer that request for proposals, so I do have a meeting with some prospective developers next Tuesday. So there might be some investors that are interested in that building and putting it
Might-
back on the tax rolls.
Okay. But this is
But you're talking of the playground area where the
Playground
basketballs
area and the
stuff-
banking.
Everything's obviously growing through the.
you know, I mean, it's been done a couple of times, and frankly, it's been a lot to be desired, the work they've done there trying to clean that up.
Oh, they've done a great job. I just can't keep doing that.
It's not maintained like Convert Street. Let's face it, you know that yourself. They're both town properties, they should be treated equally. Thorndike, Palmer, same thing. Should be no different.
Yeah.
know?
Well,
I mean, we pay taxes, should get better.
our goal is to put this back on the tax roll and get somebody
Well-
else paying taxes on it.
Exactly, but as it deteriorates, it's gonna be worth less. I mean, we got trees growing out of a chimney, it's time to get somebody up there and repair it. I mean, you people throw money around left and right, you know? Throw some Thorndike's way. Right? Okay, next question. Parking signs. seem to be having a problem on Pine Street in Thorndike all of a sudden. Property's been turning over. The older generation has left. Most of those houses had one car, maybe two. After this property gets sold, now you got people coming in there. You got 2 and 4 cars, no place to put them. So they're putting them all on the street. Now we have a problem with 1 3-family up at the top. It's owned by an absentee landlord, of course, and there isn't enough parking for all the vehicles they have there. So they're starting to park them out on the street, and it's a dead-end street, and it turns into the St. Joe's ball field, which is our right-of-way, and they're starting to block access to the right-of-way. They were parking on one side of the street next to a fire hydrant. So I talked to Mr. McNutt, and I don't know if he sent them up there. I also talked to the highway superintendent. He threw up a couple of signs, nailed them to the utility pole. One of them's already gone. Somebody took it down. So there's one left. So the guy that was parking on the wrong side of the street next to the fire hydrant just moved across the street, which isn't doing us any good going into the park because it's still blocking the curve going into the... So I'm asking, the highway superintendent told me that he needs a town ordinance. He can't just throw up signs.
We can't make the whole street no parking just on a whim.
I realize I'm not asking for the whole street. You gotta stop, that road is not wide enough to park on 2 sides and expect traffic to get through there.
Right, every road,
I'm asking for parking, no parking signs at the top of the hill where the 3-family house is. Is there parking on the opposite side of the street, facing down, not facing up?
the old Mackenzie's house,
The old Mackenzie's house.
because
Got a guy that works for Lewis Tree.
wrong, but the town does have the right to make where it's accessible. It has to be accessible by fire apparatuses. So if they're parking on both sides of the road and that restricts a fire truck from being able to get through, you know, so you look into it. I'm almost positive that the fire department could raise the issue of saying, hey, look, we can't get up here, you know, there needs to be just no parking, you're saying on the left-hand side or coming down.
There should be parking on the left-hand side coming down. I have no problem with that.
So you're saying on the
That's-
way
that's
up
where most of the
on the
houses are.
left-hand side, just before the curve there, I forget who had that house there, you're saying you don't want them parking on that left-hand side? You
On the left-hand
keep them
side,
on the right-hand side
right
by
on the curve,
Mackenzie's.
because buses coming up there, trash
You know,
haulers.
And again, if a fire truck had to
get
get
by.
up there, if a fire truck had to get up there or whatever.
And when I talked to the
so-
police department, they says, no, there was no parking signs, they can't do anything.
I think,
I
to
talked
me,
to the highway department, he says he
I
can't
could
put
be
any up
wrong,
without
but
a,
the fire
ordinance.
department has the right to say, would you be surprised that, look, we can't get through here with a fire apparatus, there needs to be, you know, they'd have to be looked into, obviously, but, and I always thought there was, as a youngster, man, Mackenzie's old house there was plenty of parking in that lot there.
there is, but when you get 4 cars per,
Yes,
per-
it was
per
always a one, it
family.
was always a one family.
plus you got guys with their construction vehicles,
Right,
so he's parking out on the street.
yeah, yeah.
So all I'm asking for is up near the top,
Yeah.
parking, no parking on each side there. So they're not blocking our access.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
I agree with that. As a new resident of Thorndike, I think that parking in that whole village is a problem because people park on sidewalks, and it's just, the mills weren't made for people who drove cars, right? They were made for people who would walk to work to the mills. So I think it is an issue.
Plus, they're definitely gonna have a problem
totally-
plowing snow,
No, I totally see
parking
your,
on both sides,
your,
and there's no place to turn around.
As of 2 years ago on Google Maps, it does have no parking signs on that right-hand side all the way up the hill. On
Yes.
every single telephone
I
pole.
put those up.
Right. They're not official, but it says no parking.
Exactly.
Right? It says no parking
Way
on
to go,
every
Butch.
on every single park. I can tell you right now, I'm watching the Google Maps right now going up the street, and there are no parking signs as of 2 years ago on Pine Street.
Exactly.
All up on the right-hand side,
And
yes.
for all that time, we had no problems.
Right.
Now with that house up on the top of the hill, we've got problems.
So the gate's not always open at St. Joe's no more, correct? Yeah, okay. I was just saying with the construction guy, you know, maybe it'd be beneficial, hey, like, look, you can park this thing here or whatever.
No, he's not
You-
parking on private property.
You need him going up the hill, it's okay on the right, you're saying, but not on the left.
No, going up the hill, no
Going up
parking
the
on the
hill, no
right.
parking. Coming
down the hill, you
down,
can park
coming
on the
down the hill,
sidewalk.
they can park.
Yeah.
All right, well,
Except up
let's
near the
look into
curve.
it.
Yep.
Let's look into Ivory and all your stuff down, so come back to our next meeting next month. Hopefully we
Okay,
can
I'll
have some
discuss
answers
this
for
with
you.
I know where to find you, I'll
Yeah,
hear stuff and I'll let you know how it's going, Butch.
I've discussed this with the highway superintendent, and he says he can't do anything unless he has a okay from the town council.
Yeah, well, let us get some information and,
So, I mean, he's got pictures, he agrees with me, but he can't do anything,
okay.
okay? Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Butch, have a good night.
Anybody else?
Hello, I'm Brett Tony. I live 181 State Street. Just moved here last year. This is my first ever town meeting. I was in the service for a long time, got out a couple years ago, and all I ever did was watch these on the news, and these people come up here and complain. So I have questions, and I don't know if this is the right forum, so
Sure.
Sure
stop
is.
me if it's not.
Thank you.
First one, Bondsville, a three-way stop by that church and a flower pot in the middle of the road. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Welcome to Palmer.
What can we do about that? I've had so many near misses with cars come flying around that corner. I've got my family in the vehicle.
It's actually a horse trough.
It's a what?
It's a historical
It's a
horse trough.
Historical,
Rocks in my yard older than that thing.
Right. That is what it is.
Is there an appropriate way to petition to get that thing out of the road and put a fourth stop sign there so it's a four-way instead of a three-way?
it should be a four-way.
There has been discussion, I brought that up over, probably since Ryan's been here and later than that, but I know the last time that I asked, the chief didn't feel that it needed to be a four-way stop, was the information that got back
It
to me.
used to just be a two-way.
It was,
Chief, did you say?
the police chief, so we could maybe revisit that again, but the last time I asked about it becoming, so initially I was told we were gonna put up a fourth stop sign.
Okay.
And then I was told afterwards that there was not a reason to do that. So I think that, you know, if you've lived here your whole life, you know how to maneuver it, but
Yeah.
I understand if
You can't
you,
legally stop and look around the corner. You have to
I know,
pass through it.
yep, you have to
Church
pull.
bush. Yes,
If
the
you
bush
trim-
at the
If you
church.
trim the
Yep.
bushes, it would be acceptable. And I thought about it, but
Like if you're
Saturday
coming
against it.
from the State Street way, from the old dump way, coming down, and the horse trough is in your face there, that stop sign is so far back that
You
you
have to
have to
pull
come
up.
up to the
You have to
horse
inch up.
trough.
Right.
Which is some history here, when they built the park in Bondsville. You're committing suicide if you try to move that horse trough with the Bondsville folks. All right, my idea back then was to take it out of there and incorporate it into the park and water bubblers, but as you see, it didn't happen. I just watched the guy the other day. I was laughing. I said, "Yeah, he ain't from town," because he come through the intersection, went way right around the horse trough.
Oh, instead of cutting between.
Yeah, this guy ain't
Yes.
never done this. Yeah.
even if I don't turn right too often,
You know.
it's the left that they
Yeah.
don't stop.
It's
That's
real
why-
pretty in the spring. The Golos is there, right? They usually
Yeah.
do it all up with the flowers and stuff. So hey, if you're from here, you know it. And I guess the major thing is people need to calm down, slow down, and everyone's is just in a rush to go wherever. Like I said, when it was just a two-stop sign thing, I thought it was better. With the third one, I think you do need to add the fourth one because everyone is just like,
Well, people
right,
do,
who's next, you
people
know?
do tend to stop at the area where there is no stop sign.
Right.
But then it
And so
confuses
the
the,
one,
Yeah.
the people who know
so
how to
if
drive.
you were to take the right where you say you don't normally go down, so the stop sign coming, if you were coming back down that road, that stop sign is, I mean, it's been several years now, but that never used to be there.
Right.
So, yeah.
You do have a valid point, though.
There's a lot, yeah.
Yes.
And
You're not the
and
only one asking
no,
for a stop
this-
sign.
This rears its ugly head
Every once.
every once, so, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause you
I'm
could
all in
take-
support of this, by the way. I also drive through that every morning, and there's times where I'm like, I'm just going down South High Street. I mean, south. Yeah.
That's
South
what
High
I do. I
So
cut
those
through that
bushes
street
there
every
at that
day.
church, is that town property or is that church property?
Church.
We can definitely.
Depending.
So if someone
Reach
were
out
to chop
to
that
that.
down,
Whacking them.
Yeah.
there would be like no fine for that or anything.
Give it a
right?
whack.
No, we can reach out to the property owner and have them cut the bushes.
Yeah, you don't want to, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I do want to.
We'll
already
we'll,
been.
we'll reach
If
out.
they
to them.
magically
That's the
disappeared.
Board of Health lady
There you
right
go.
there. so
Okay.
that's-
She's already all over it.
Lady.
Perfect. All right.
I mean,
What a health
realistically,
lady.
if it was me from being a truck driver,
Sorry.
I would take and have the town take the corner of the way the sidewalk comes around there and reconfigure that whole intersection where you would push, you're coming from Bondsville, you push it over a little bit and everything's nice and neater and straighter and.
Yeah, I mean, if
But
we're going
it is a thing where
some
if
traffic.
you've lived here your whole life, hey, look, I remember getting in a crash in there
calming.
just
Yeah,
before
exactly.
school. We got bounced around in that intersection.
Theoretically, that trough is supposed to be a
Back
traffic
off that,
calmer.
with that
Actually,
Thorndike Bridge
what we need
closed,
is
a lot of people are
lines in
cutting
the
over to
road
State
of
Street
how
and
to
coming
go.
up
I
that
agree.
way, so there's
Yep.
a lot more
Right.
traffic.
Every day.
I'm eager to look into this. I'm happy
And I was
to.
telling Mark, my house is right there next to the example railroad tracks. It's directly between first and second gear. And so everyone, it's fast and the furious on
Oh,
my
yeah,
road. Coming
yeah.
up right there.
Everyone's in a hurry to go nowhere.
That's why
That's
they paid.
exactly right. What's that?
That's why they paid.
Better
us, so
late
we
than
got
never.
rid
So
Yes,
on that note,
I'm-
you mentioned Chief. I had a second comment. Did I hear correctly that we have 3 fire departments in town?
It's not
Absolutely.
not this
Water department.
wrong
Yes.
So-
wrong
No, we can
venue.
answer questions. No,
No, taxes that.
no, we can answer questions. Yes.
So they're not under the town of Palmer.
Okay.
They're independent, and so there's a district tax. So if you live in Bondsville, so you're paying the Bondsville Fire District tax. If you live in Three Rivers, you pay Three Rivers. If you live in Thorndike, you pay Thorndike. If you live in Palmer, you pay Palmer. So Depot Village Palmer, even though we're all Palmer. And they have their own charter, their own rules. They're not under the town at all. And so there's been talk for years, probably 20 plus 30 years, a lot of years, about why do we have why do we need 3? We also have independent water departments
Okay.
in the villages also. Some of them buy water from each other, some are kind of work together, but it's just, again, it's another thing that's kind of, we're not the only town that has districts.
Yeah.
It tends to be like old mill towns.
I was going to say
That's
the quick history lesson on that
yeah,
is that the mills, when there was a mill in every village, like Three Rivers still has their mill. The Bondsville one burnt down. That's where the condos are now.
Okay.
And then there's obviously one in Thorndike still. And then Palmer was Palmer. So I don't think there was ever a mill in Palmer. I don't know. Somebody can correct me on that.
Maple Leaf or whatever down there.
Right. So what happened is that every mill had their own fire department. So that grew into village fire departments. And then when the state passed legislation to create fire districts, they created their own fire district. So they had their own water and fire district. And then now they're protected under state government and state law. So each of them have their own board of commissioners and their own board, like a board like this. And they make the rules and things pertaining to water and fire. So you pay your fire tax and your water bill to the village that you live in.
Okay.
They also have district meetings that you can go to. They're
Monthly.
Yeah, some of them are during the day, like,
11 a.m.
Yeah,
Yeah.
10.
But we
Convenient.
don't have real power over them.
You do
Well,
as
you
a,
do.
if
You
you
as a
As a
voter.
As a
taxpayer.
town,
Yeah.
you're in Bondsville, correct?
Yeah.
Well, I'm in Bondsville, but I got a neighbor on this side in Thorndike and a neighbor on this side in Thorndike, so they
Right.
district that
Well,
weird. I don't know why.
Gerrymandering. No, I'm
And
just kidding.
whatever district you live in,
really wanted to
you
vote.
are a voting member of that district, and so you do have a say. Unfortunately, most of the district meetings are not attended by a lot of people.
Right.
Because they're not super accessible,
Yeah.
but
You have to ungame the meetings.
Okay. All right. Well, so
And
there's
then
been
the-
talk for years, and
There has been.
It kind of seems like
You
the
could
form
become a
isn't those
water
things.
commissioner, or,
Yeah.
The issue is that each district would have to dissolve,
Yeah.
and then the town would have to pick up, or they would dissolve into each other. Like it would be on the district itself to make that legislation
That's
between
not the
themselves.
same for our police force, correct?
No, that's under the
That is
town.
not.
Taxes pay our police force. Is there anything in, I glanced through it before coming here. Is there anything in our charter that kind of identifies like the percentage of police members that we need based on our town population?
Not in the budget, but there are
Charter.
guidelines that, like, there's like state guidelines, like, same thing with like fire protection, like, there's different
As
standards.
far as the number of police officers that we have out? Because I've been here over a year, I've seen 2 police cars in my road the entire time. So I'm not saying that.
come sit at my house.
I
I live
hear
on
them.
High Street,
I hear
Thorndike.
them, but I haven't
I'll
seen
tell
them.
you what, it's like,
Yeah,
I run in the
I hear
garage.
them.
What are they up to? Oh,
I
that's that
hear them
street.
all the time.
And I was just talking to my neighbor the other day, and he had mentioned, some people coming out from Springfield, some young kids, and stealing his dirt bikes and getting to a
Oh,
high
4
school
dirt
trip.
bikes. That was awesome, man. They chased them down and got them all.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was
Told me
sweet.
about it. But these people are coming into our town, and we're seeing an uptick in crime, and I just don't know from an outsider coming in here. When I was looking in places to buy, and I was like, you know what, I want to find a good balance, a conservative town. Those are my values. And I found Palmer. This area was just a blot of red and a big sea of blue in Massachusetts. And I love living here, and I know that it's a blue state. Right, and I know that we're never going to have widespread conservative values, but everyone up here in Massachusetts,
Come visit
they
me.
just seem to they leave me alone. Let me mind my own business. So it's not really like red and blue. Everyone just has their own values, and the people who are activists vote and scream louder. And that's the way it kind of seems in Massachusetts. But for people, all of those policies, and forgive me for saying this, I've historically been taught, that a conservative may not be a solution to all the problems, but in most cases, far-leaning liberal policies are generally the problem to those, and it's an increase in
Amen.
crime, right? Like we see that in our border, and we see a lot of people coming in this area up into New York, into DC, in this area here in Massachusetts. And so I know that we're going to see a lot more population, a lot more diversity, which is great. We should celebrate that, right? But I think that we should kind of make sure that we've got crime stemmed before it gets out of control. So I'm hoping that our police budget kind of includes additional training. I know there's been talk of defund the police. I don't know if that's.
No,
No.
no, no.
definitely-
Sir,
really not.
As a new resident, would you just like to have a
We had
personal
a
meeting with the
conversation.
police chief?
You and I, yes, you and I have talked last year for about an hour. I don't know if you remember. I stopped in your.
Oh my
office.
goodness. I remember a little bit. I have
Yeah.
all kinds of random events during my day.
Yeah. So the reason I bring it up, right, is because I'm big pro police. My brother's in the police force. I was in the service, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I heard that you guys were trying to figure out what to do with Converse Middle School. Sorry. And I thought, well, you know what? Given the fact that it's a school, and given what's going on in our country with the safety of those students, right? We've seen a lot of school shootings and things like that. Maybe we can either pursue a federal grant or a state grant or a town partnership to possibly turn it into police training.
It just recently was. So the
Fantastic.
Western but let me caution you.
Okay.
I've been down this road.
Okay.
Western Mass Police Academy was most recently renting space inside Converse Middle School.
Okay.
Then all of this whole police reform started to happen, right? Post certification, all of this stuff, and so they're sort of consolidating the police training academies.
Okay.
And they actually just put out an RFP. I believe it was about a year ago. And I thought this was the answer, right? Let's totally turn Converse into a premier police training institute for all of Western Mass.
where
Exactly.
you're at, yeah.
Yes. You know what they were looking for? 23,000 square feet. Converse is 88,000 square feet. They didn't want to touch it. Way too big. But anyways, yes, I like the
that's-
thinking that you have. I did explore that. It was not what they were looking for.
Fair enough. Okay.
But anyways, back to my offer. I just want to allay your concerns that Palmer is a safe place. Yes, occasionally things happen like anywhere.
Yeah.
But if you sit down with Chief Burns, I guarantee you will come away with your questions answered.
Okay. Yeah. Absolutely, appreciate it.
We have
You know, we
great
are a small
police.
town, and like the people coming from Springfield to steal the motorcycles. It's
Yeah.
just, I mean, I've grown up in this town, and I've seen where, you know, all the factories were going great and this and that. Everybody more or less knew each other, and I think even with all that stuff gone, people need to be more vigilant of, hey, look, you know, somebody's place is it's going to happen. No, you can't stop it. But, you know, God bless them people for chasing them down. I was like, yes. Them youngsters are going to think twice, and it's going to send a message to them. Look, don't, you know, and everyone has the right to carry, so.
And you can't do that in Springfield. So I was patrolling through, I'm a sheriff's officer, I was patrolling through Springfield, and guys on bikes would just knock on my window and say, come on, chase me. I want to assure you, as a law enforcement officer, our police chief will not put up with that, our sheriff will not put up with that.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how resources are being allocated, but when I first moved to town, I made my intentions clear. I was like, hey, you know what, at some point I'm going to run for office, and I sat down and talked to you about it, and you're like, Brett, you got a 1% chance of beating this guy. I was like, okay, I'll give it a couple years, thanks. So I kind of parked that for a
Dude,
little
you're
bit.
in my district. I could
Every
retire
year.
and.
Well, so you made it clear, right? I don't know anything about politics.
Yeah, if he's in
But
Bondsville.
as I started to talk to different folks, they all told me the same thing. The fire department in Bondsville, unfortunately, has been to my house twice, but they were like, we just don't have the resources. You know, we need so much more for training. And then I talked to the dog pound people, and they're like, oh, we need a new facility. And so everyone that I've talked to,
Getting.
their biggest
Getting.
complaint is money.
Yeah, we got a new
Well,
facility for the dog
yeah.
pound people.
We're all,
Stay tuned.
we're,
She's coming up.
I'm gonna go sit down now. All right, you guys got anything for me?
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, appreciate
Unfortunately, you
coming
weren't
out.
at National Night Out because they had the whole police force was out there with all their cars, and it was the
Oh,
first
you would have loved
Tuesday.
it.
Yeah, you would have loved it.
It's every year.
good old
Every year,
constraints of
first
Prop
Tuesday
2.5.
of the,
Look
A
us
lot
up
of
though. Our name and stuff is on the webpage and stuff.
Yeah, you can reach out to any of us
Always
individually.
Be willing to sit down and have a beer and talk, and
Yeah.
or if you don't drink, that's fine too.
Whiskey.
Right on.
Whiskey, yeah, whatever.
Philippe.
Oh, boy.
Carl likes beers.
Shame I brought up Converse School again.
Uh-oh, Butch.
It's time that we put politics aside and sell this building, okay? Because that's, I think, is holding up the whole process.
Wait, sell Converse?
Yes.
That's how we ended up in the mess with the other school buildings, 'cause we sold them.
Well,
You gotta pick and choose a good,
We have to explore our options to keep it a public
been
facility.
exploring options for what, 5 years? How many studies have we done?
We've done none. We've
None.
not done any.
There was one
I
RFP
thought
to
there was
turn
one
it.
ongoing
We
a few years ago.
We put it out to bid for senior housing, and it was unsuccessful. No one bid. And then it's been sitting since then.
Yep.
But that's mostly due to the restrictions that we want to keep the field.
Well, hey, we're
Yeah, we want this, we
going
want
to
that.
have to
and-
suck it up. Nobody's going to buy half a building,
Right, exactly.
you know?
Great.
It's time to
So
suck
we-
it up and,
so we've had several community meetings to discuss Converse Middle School. Those that attended, the overwhelming consensus was that the residents wanted to see it used for town use. And so at our last, I think it was our last meeting, we talked about doing a feasibility study for town use, and then that will get us some cost estimates of what it will cost to renovate that building, and then we'll decide from there. You have to understand too, that, you know, COVID also interrupted a lot of things for the town as a whole, for operational. So we pretty much lost like 2 years of just trying to have government function during COVID, and, you know, as things, you know, affected everybody else, it also affects at the town level. So that's also not to make excuses, but it just, that was thrown in there too. And we had a lot of momentum on a bunch of different issues that pretty much we lost that momentum due to COVID. So we're trying to bring those things up again, and we'll see what happens. And ultimately, if we do a feasibility study and it costs too much money to renovate it, then the option probably is going to be to sell the property, because it can't continue, in my opinion, it can't continue to sit there and start falling apart.
I don't know if
So-
I'm wrong, but I thought I read somewhere where you're spending $80,000 a year to keep that building.
That's for
That's correct.
heating and some maintenance
Correct.
costs. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Be more next year because
Heating and-
cost of heating.
Yep.
Heating and everything,
yep,
Right.
see?
And
But at least you're maintaining that one, you're not maintaining Thorndike.
Well, it's used for basketball.
I know, you have a gymnasium at the high school, you have a gymnasium at Old Mill Pond, you have a gymnasium at Pathfinder.
I believe, though, that's the only court that's regulation. I'm not a basketball person, but
They're all
Old Mill
regulation.
Pond is not regulation.
No,
no,
it's
I
not.
meant Converse.
You know, he said they were all regulation, so.
No, it's not.
no, Pathfinder might be.
The issue,
Pathfinder
well,
is fine.
the issue becomes to.
And high school
right.
games there, all of them.
No, the issue becomes that that is the court that's used for the younger kids. So, you know, the
Right.
Pathfinder and Palmer High, during basketball season, they're using the courts for practices and games, so.
They still play some games up there.
No,
The
they do.
kids-
What I'm saying is,
The kids, they're talking,
yes, but
I know
there's,
my grandson plays, and
I mean, my son used to play at, St. Thomas Parish during, when he was younger. So, I mean, I think that, you know, we have to be aware that that court is heavily utilized by
not
the
to the
younger
extent
athletes.
that
I think it
you
is.
can justify $80,000 a
Well,
year.
No, and again, but right now, the building is there, and that's what we have. And so if we don't go down that road of, you know, using it for town use, then we'll have to look at something else.
Next thing in regard to Thorndike not getting their fair share of the tax dollar, I haven't seen that brush cutter in Thorndike this year at all.
I know they've been out.
I've seen them in Thorndike
Where?
on Church Street.
Church Street.
Whacked the whole side of the Church
I
Street.
haven't seen it on Pleasant Street or Pine Street or Summer Street or, you know, usually it breaks down just when it gets to Thorndike. You know,
It's brand new.
only
It should
2
better
years
not,
old.
better not break down. It's
Better
brand
not.
new.
Yeah, it's 2 years old, not even.
Right.
I haven't been paying attention, but usually, I'm sure they've come down High Street.
about High Street. You've been down High Street lately?
I live on High Street,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I don't know if they had or not. Like I said, I haven't paid attention, quite
Well,
frankly.
Brian can check
But
with the
FYI,
DPW
as far as
director.
Converse, that was my opinion too, is to just sell it, but.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Motion to adjourn?
Huh?
Motion to adjourn. 45 minutes.
Do I need
Okay.
anything on here? I need at least the municipal charges lien.
Okay.
I hear that.
Minutes, June 13th.
June
I had
13th.
one.
What? Not listed
Oh,
on
no,
that.
I didn't have any comments.
I think I'm in the wrong meeting agenda. I am.
You're in
I'm
the
like,
right
where
meeting,
am
you're
I?
just on the wrong page.
I'm on the wrong page.
Okay.
I'm like,
That
I don't
happens.
see that.
While they're looking, June 13th, under executive session, page 2. Yeah, so it says executive session before Carrie Ann Wenzel, that area. June 13th.
It's supposed to be listed out, right? Because it was a roll call vote.
So, it should say, it should talk about that it was a roll call vote for it going into executive session, but then you should also put in that what time we reconvened back into open session. You could just add that into the minutes.
put that in there, actual.
Exacts, but if you can put it in here too. And then under Carrie Ann's section, the third part, Kay Williams questioned if, can you just add the word "we do"? If we do the increase, is there a way to help more residents? And then the next line, it should be, Kay Wenzel added that the residents add an S. Next page, under Town of Palmer fiscal 2023 municipal budget. Under the third paragraph, where it starts, Armic not informed, it says the town was given an assessment from the school, but it would be budget, not an assessment, because this is talking about Palmer Public Schools, so the
Yeah,
assessment
I
is-
probably did say assessment, but you're right, budget.
Yeah,
The budget.
yep.
Because I usually call what the town sends us an assessment.
Okay, and then it says the school was level funded this year, but it wasn't.
No.
So can we just get rid of that sentence? Okay. And then, next bullet, so can we just put, it says capital needs need? Can we just say capital items need?
Where are you?
Barry added that yearly maintenance on items at the school and capital, put items need, so it just says needs. Next page, under the $150,000, second paragraph, can you just put ARPA funds? It says from ARPA. And then the resolution, the 115 to rescind the previous vote from wastewater capital, can you just add what that was that we rescinded, like specifically? Just so that if we go back to look at the minutes, we know. And then, last page, first line, can you just get rid of the first line about the skate park? Because I feel like it's not in context with what everything else. And then Mark requested a time frame. Do you know what that was for?
Time frame for town manager goal projects.
Okay, can we just add that?
Sure.
And then under council roundtable, somebody said, starting on July 1st, she would like, well, she is either me or you, Jessica, but it wasn't, I don't remember
It's you.
It was me?
Yes.
She would like to know what grants were received for each department. Okay, I said that.
It was a long night.
Okay. Anybody else?
You want me to cross it off?
I was just like, I don't know, I said that? Really? Okay. I thought it was Jessica. I think it might have been.
I could take the credit.
I think it might have been
I
you.
think it may have
Yeah,
been.
I think it was
I'll double
Jessica.
check. Sounds like something I would have said, but
I'll just say it was both of them.
Combination.
She's.
Yeah, there we go. Jeez.
She said.
she.
Anybody else? Motion to approve with corrections?
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, June 27th.
I have one on page 9.
Well, can we start on page
Yeah, let's go
one?
Yeah,
page
sure.
one.
There's the date is wrong under call to order.
Oh, yeah, it
Oh,
is.
yeah. Under the budget, where it says vote to approve the fiscal '23 municipal budget, you need who motioned and seconded. And then the next paragraph, could you list what the amounts were for each of the, because like you listed some of the amounts, but not all of them, for the things we were discussing?
I'm also missing from the call of order.
Were you here?
Yep, I think I was here because it says I
Yeah, he said
stated
a lot-
this and
you said a
there's
lot
a
of
whole bunch of
stuff.
stuff I said,
Yeah.
so I'm hoping I was here.
Were you in another dimension?
It's a cool place.
Next page. I don't know, like, a little, I don't know, a little more than halfway down, it says, "Be very question what about the Muffin Monster Grinder?" I don't know what,
Questioned about it, about the muffin. You were unsure, it was the first time you heard of it.
okay, so just get rid of the word what. And then, like, two more down, R. McNutt, that line, just perform. Spelling. After PVPC, you see, okay. So then, the next, where it says, "Beeberry stated that the money was earmarked for a pavilion at Burley Park." Ryan said there was no notes about a pavilion. I didn't say there was no notes about, I might have said it, maybe it wasn't clear what the vote was, what the money was set aside for. So maybe just get rid of that second line. Next page is fine. The page after that, I have no idea what page it is, I'm sorry. Where it says Brad responded was the top of the page. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down, just says God and it should be good.
Oh, can you go back a page
Yep.
to 9? That was the one. my sole find. It is, I think it's the 8th line down, B. Berry responded. I think it should say opposed to the grinder machine, not opposed of the grinder machine.
Okay.
That's it.
Under the resolution to approve of the 55,000, you can just get rid of that I asked if there were any questions.
Okay.
Under revolving funds, the last sentence, or the last bullet, whatever, just it says funds. Motion to accept the fiscal '23 revolving, good. And then the next page, where it says it, so it says, B. Berry explained that she does not want to lose sight of it. Instead of it, can you just put the reuse of the school? And then discussion of funding tree removal. It says they need to be taken care of, taken. Anybody else? Motion to approve with corrections.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Old business, BYOB ordinance. Ryan? You want to talk about it?
Yeah, so at the last iteration of this, it was requested to put in that the staff at whatever establishment have the server training tips or whatever, so I wrote that in there. I underlined where I put it.
It said addition. Anybody have any questions, comments on this?
Ryan, whose responsibility? It'll be the Liquor Commission, right? The Board of Licenses Commissions, right? They're going to be the ones that verify that they have all of the proper documentation before they issue the license?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
And have they determined that, I know that was what was brought up as far as some type of fee should be being charged?
No fee discussed yet.
Okay.